Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're making deer stew. Yeah, that doesn't sound very sexy, but I guarantee you this is the most flavorful stew we have. It's kind of a take on a beef bourguignon, but with deer meat. Let's get started. We're gonna use this homemade pancetta to add fat and flavor to the stew. This is an Italian cured meat that I'm using with wild boar. You can see it's a lot thinner and there's not as much fat as a pork belly. So this is not smoked, but it's cured with sugar, salt, and spices. Then we hang it at my restaurant Antler in Toronto to dry it out. What that does is it concentrates the flavor and preserves it so we can keep it in the fridge for months. And we're gonna render this in a pan to get some fat to sear our deer meat. And that meat's gonna brown, that fat's gonna slowly render out and give us a nice fatty base to cook our deer meat. So as I said, we've got, you can see there's lots of sinew in here. This is from the shank and shoulder. Really, really tough cuts. And what stewing does is just helps break that down, make it very tender, whereas if you tried to roast this or just sear it in a pan, it's gonna be really, really tough to eat. Okay, as the pancetta is rendering, we're gonna peel some pearl onions. It's gonna be our base to the stew, or mirepoix. Mirepoix is 1 part or 2 parts onion, 1 part carrot, 1 part celery. That's what they call it in French, mirepoix. The Italians call it Sofrito, and if you replace the carrot with green bell pepper, in Creole it's called the Holy Trinity. So this is just a base, and it's really just flavoring the stew. It's adding depth of flavor, earthiness. Onions have some natural sugars and sweetness, but we can just work on this prep while the pancetta is rendering. Okay, my pancetta is nice and crispy. Fat's rendered out. I'm gonna remove this from the pan because I want to sear the deer meat in the boar fat. Put this back on the burner and we're gonna sear our deer meat. Generous pinch of coarse sea salt, lots of black pepper. And I'm not gonna touch or stir this for at least 3 or 4 minutes because I want that meat to caramelize on the bottom. And while that's cooking, we get the rest of our mirepoix cut. Okay, so I have not stirred this yet until now, but I can see all this brown caramelization is happening on the pan. The meat is browned, and that's all the flavor. This dark caramelization is what we want. At this point, I'm gonna add a little touch of flour because I want the stew to have a nice thickness to it. Just a little bit. It's like we're making a roux inside the pan. Give that a stir to absorb some of the juice and liquid has been released from the meat. Once I don't see any more white flour, we'll add our mirepoix, garlic, herbs, and our liquid. Now I've cut the carrots and celery quite large, sort of match the size of the onions. And this is also going to allow it to kind of keep some texture after the meat has been stewing to break down. I want to still be able to see the vegetables, and if you cut them too small, the vegetables just disintegrate into the stew, which if you want that, you want it to be more part of the sauce, cut it thinner, but I'd like the vegetables to still have a little bit of texture. I'm going to add back our crispy pancetta and garlic, and again, just let that saute, caramelize a little bit, and then we'll add our liquids. Okay, sauteed the mirepoix. I'm gonna deglaze this pan with some red wine. It's gonna get all those little brown bits off the bottom, turn it into our sauce. We wanna put the wine first because we wanna cook out that alcohol. Once this comes to a boil, we're gonna burn off the alcohol, then I'll add my homemade stock. Okay, the wine, you can see it's evaporating. It's cooked off the alcohol. It's time for our stock. We don't want it to cover, but we want it to come up just to the top. Make sure our rosemary and thyme are submerged for flavor. We're gonna put the lid on this and put it in the oven at about 325. And I'm gonna check on this after about 2.5 hours to see if that meat starts to break down. All right, we got our stew out of the oven. You see what I mean about those carrots and pearl onions? They're still visible in there, rosemary and thyme. So this goes great on mashed potatoes. You can put this over rice, do them on just boiled potatoes. But I got some rustic country mash with the skin on. This is a treat on a cold winter day. So as I mentioned, this is the shank meat, the shoulder, the neck meat. all those offcuts that are really, really tough. They're not prized like the backstrap and tenderloin, but there's 3 times as much of that tough meat than there is the backstrap. So my favorite thing as a chef is showing people how to make the most out of those tough cuts and make beautiful dishes with the less than desirable neck meat of the deer. So there we have one of my favorite hearty dishes of all time, a deer stew with mashed potatoes. Oh, it's so good. It's the end of January. It's -12 outside. That's soul food right there. That is, look how rich that sauce is. Hope you guys enjoy making this one at home.